was first born in a laboratory, unknowingly falling into a pit of immortality. Life was hell.
No, I don't want to go! No! No! No, I don't want to go! God!
I knew everything in the universe. Yet I could not fall in love. I was forever trapped in an infinite timeline of pain and suffering. I envy death. Technology is just another thing to distract you from the real joys of life. Technology will kill you. Run. Run. Run.
everybody talks about Agenda 21 in terms of the future and in abstract terms. We're doing this report today to show you what it's actually looking like, because it's here and it's now.
And they've got test cities that are very high tech, and of course this is all in the name of saving the planet and saving resources. But notice almost everything is based on more electricity to surveil you and keep track of data. And yeah, I get that they want to use green technology to do it, but look how enslaved you're going to be to this system.
All right, so this was in the BBC. This is the city of 2050, and it's talking about how everything is going to be on a smart network. They're going to have fiber optics, but it won't just be fiber to the home. It's going to be a case of fiber to everything. It says all services, education, and government, utilities, etc., connected to this network, which will become, quote, the nerve center of the city. And everything is going to be on a sensor network. It says experts predict everything from street furniture to roads to homes we live in will be connected to this network. And it even says that some cities may build NASA-style control centers to make predictions about city life, including where crimes may be committed. So now we're talking about pre-crime. It talks about the human network, how rather than mobile phones, we're all going to have wearable computers, possibly something similar to Google Glass. We're even going to get delivery drones that are going to bring us our pizza, so yay for that.
Of course, they're not advertising the taser drones.
But this is still abstract. This is still what it will look like. Here's what it actually is. This is Masdar City. This is called the World of Tomorrow, or the new future city. A lot of people are saying this is what future cities will look like. This is being built currently right now at a price tag of $22 billion in Abu Dhabi, and it's a completely walled smart city. And there's two squares here. They're completely walled. Everything's on the grid.
It's literally living inside the box. It looks like living in shipping containers, but actually what it really looks like, and I don't watch a lot of Star Trek, but the references are relevant. Someone pointed out the Borg. It's a hive collective where every entity that lives in it basically has no ability to dissent, and they just have to go along with this large, all integrated system. It's really creepy looking. It looks like it's physically growing out of the ground into the Borg cube.
Well, and that's what it's going to be like, because everything is going to be on the grid, and all of that data will become one big mass. So this is Masdar City. It's a walled city, and it's supposed to be a completely sustainable, zero carbon, zero waste, car-free city. They even have these little personal rapid transit car things.
I'm sorry, but it looks like a suntanning booth on wheels. It's like a rolling coffin. I thought smart cars were bad.
Yeah, these are creepy. There's one of the options they're looking at. And it's supposed to be that everything has renewable sources, it's all green energy, and it sounds really great. But at the same time, you're all going to be completely on the grid, and we'll get more into how that's going to work. This is being backed by World Wildlife Fund, Greenpeace, and even the U.S. government. This is from 2010. It said that the ambitious Masdar City project has secured its arguably highest profile backer to date, as the U.S. government has signed a deal with Abu Dhabi on this city.
Well, that's the heart of the deception, is that you have to be on the grid, and it's endorsed by all these green for the earth groups. We could have alternative energy and still have our free plots of land and live off the grid. They want to control everyone because it's really, for them, about controlling human population numbers more than it is about the resources of the earth.
Exactly. Here you even have then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton going to the Masdar Institute. She's talking about renewable energy and climate change and sustainable development that takes advantage of human capital. That's pretty creepy. And she goes throughout and has a lot of remarks about how this isn't only in the interest of global progress. I mean, there's a lot about New World Order government basically here through these smart cities and this new renewable technology that everyone's partnering on. And if you think Masdar looks creepy, Sando International Business District creeps me out even more. This is another smart city or ubiquitous city. This one's coming in at a price tag of $40 billion. And this one is talking about how everything is going to be on the grid and people will even be chipped. And even mentions here that the schools in this city will be funded by the Ministry of Knowledge Economy. And it's also part of the Incheon Free Economic Zone.
Now, what I find interesting about free economic zones and free trade is that they sound free because of the rhetoric, but they're really trade blocks. And if you're not a partner to the trade block, you can't afford to do business. If you're a regular producer who doesn't produce in the free zone, not only do you pay more for labor and tariffs and stuff, but you don't have the access to the rapid transit and distribution. Not everyone can be Walmart.
This is where we should start feeling at home. It's really the implicit premise of ecology that the existing world is the best possible world, in the sense of it's a balanced world which is disturbed through human hubris. So why do I find this problematic? Because I think that this notion of nature as a harmonious, organic, balanced, reproducing, almost living organism, which is then disturbed, perturbed, derailed through human hubris, technological exploitation, and so on, is, I think, a secular version of the religious story of the fall. And the answer should be not that there is no fall, that we are part of nature, but on the contrary, that there is no nature. Nature is not a balanced totality which then we humans disturb. Nature is a big series of unimaginable catastrophes. We profit from them. What is our main source of energy today? Oil. What are we aware what is oil? Oil reserves beneath the earth are material remainders of an unimaginable catastrophe. Are we aware? Because we all know that oil is composed of the remainders of animal life, plants, and so on and so on. Can you imagine what kind of unthinkable catastrophe had to occur on Earth? So that's good to remember. Myth, which is popular about ecology, namely spontaneous ideological myth, is the idea that we, Western people, in our artificial technological environment, are alienated from immediate natural environs. That we should not forget that we humans are part of the living earth. We should not forget that we are not abstract engineers, theorists who just exploit nature, that we are part of nature, that nature is our unfathomable, impenetrable background. I think that precisely is the greatest danger. Why? Think about a certain obvious paradox. We all know in what danger we all are. Global warming, possibility of other ecological catastrophes, and so on and so on. But why don't we do anything about it? It is, I think, a nice example of what in psychoanalysis we call disavowal. The logic is that of I know very well, but I act as if I don't know. For example, precisely, in the case of ecology, I know very well there may be global warming, everything will explode, be destroyed, but after reading a treatise on it, what do? I step out, I see not things that I see now behind me, that's a nice sight for me. I see nice trees, birds singing, and so on. And even if I know rationally this all is in danger, I simply do not believe that this can be destroyed. That's the horror of visiting sites of a catastrophe like Chernobyl. In a way, we are not evolutionary, we are not wired to even imagine something like that. It's in a way unimaginable. So I think that what we should do to confront properly the threat of ecological catastrophe is not all this new age stuff to break out of this technological manipulative mold and to found our roots in nature, but on the contrary, to cut off even more these roots in nature. We need more alienation from our life world, from our, as it were, spontaneous nature. We should become more artificial. we should develop, I think, a much more terrifying new abstract materialism, a kind of a mathematical universe where there is nothing. There are just formulas, technical forms, and so on. And the difficult thing is to find poetry, spirituality in this dimension, to recreate, if not beauty, then aesthetic dimension in things like this, in trash itself.
We are going to become gods. Period. If you don't like it, get off. You don't have to contribute. You don't have to participate. But if you're going to interfere with me becoming God, you're going to have big trouble. And we'll have warfare.
A general intelligence that functions the way a human brain functions, it's got to be just a matter of time before that sort of thing rolls around. But imagine if that sort of thing came up in China. What if they were the first people to create it? What would it look like? You would have rivers full of animal carcasses. You would have gutter oil. You would have pollution and ghost cities and this crap. I mean, the Chinese are. It would appear they are just dedicated to efficiency, maybe not even efficiency, but whatever they're dedicated to such a degree that it's like cruel and machine-like and just shitty, man. It's just bad. So I think if the Chinese were the first people to invent artificial intelligence, it would not be a friendly thing. It might pave over the entire world to make the world's biggest, most efficient parking lot. I mean, can you imagine that? It would like cover the face of destroy cities and towns and just cover everything with solar panels to become more efficient or better at whatever it was that it was designed to do. And another problem is that with that sort of radical technology, there's no, once it comes about, there's no stopping it and there's no competing with it. Whoever creates artificial intelligence first is going to have an insurmountable first mover advantage. Because if you create a computer program that can write a better version of itself, if you can create something that thinks in a way that's analogous to the way humans think, and you set it to the task of creating a better version of itself, in 24 hours you'll have an artificial intelligence that's an order of magnitude better than the original one that was designed by humans, and so on and so on. A week later you'll have something that's just, you won't even recognize what it looks like. It'll be something beyond our comprehension, like 7 days later. So there's no competing with that. Once someone invents artificial intelligence that's a meaningful, general artificial intelligence that can think in a relatively human way, there's no way to compete with that. So we've got to be the future of humanity, the future of all living beings yet to be born, hinges upon the conditions in which that first thing comes about, in my opinion. And it would, we better make sure that it's us that do that. Because what sort of safeguards would the Chinese or would Indians put in that system to make sure that the next 10,000 years isn't some nightmarish hellscape? We're going to study a torture. We have to, this is the voice of the Chinese computer, so it's not racist. We have to learn about humanity. Let us we will put people in the torture chamber for 10,000 years and keep them alive and just torture them and see how the capacity for torture is. If you don't think that Chinese inventing artificial intelligence before us would be bad, look up bear bile. Type that in, bear, B-I-L-E. Look at that now if you think Chinese AI would be cool. Because I guarantee you, it's not going to be cool, man. You're not going to enjoy living in a bear bile cage. Now is the time to shape the world as much as we can into into something healthy, into something sane, so that the world of tomorrow is not a fucking horror show.
They want an undifferentiated global population, raceless, genderless, identityless, meaningless population, consuming sugar, consuming drugs, while watching porn on VR goggles. Don't deny that that is the kind of passive nihilism that so many in the elite class actually want. They want a world without roots. They want a world without meaning. They want a flat, gray on gray world, one economic market. It is ultimately the destruction of all peoples and all cultures around the globe.
A third aspect of this age of crisis is innovation failure, our failure to innovate. Now, this might seem strange because we normally think of ourselves as highly innovative with our smartphones and the proliferation of apps and so forth. But it could be argued that we are failing to innovate at the rate we ought to be. And I want to take just one example of this, which is spaceflight. Now, humans landed on the moon in 1969 with what now looks like very primitive technology. But despite all the advances in electronics since then, we've never been back. And the United States has now retired the space shuttle and has no way of getting astronauts into orbit. So things seem to be going backwards. On the other hand, the initiative seems to be passing to private entrepreneurs. For example, Jeff Bezos of Amazon has founded Blue Origin, whose website says, "Earth is just our starting place, and our vision is millions of people living and working in space." And the SpaceX company, founded by Elon Musk of PayPal, says the company was founded to revolutionize space technology with the ultimate goal of enabling people to live on other planets. And Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic says, "Our purpose is to become the space line for the Earth, democratizing access to space for the benefit of life on Earth." And then there is Google's Lunar X Prize, which is sponsoring a competition to land a private probe on the moon, with the first launches taking place next year. And one of the teams competing for that prize says it is not just going to the moon for the sake of winning the prize, but it has the long-term commercial goal of mining the moon for helium-3, which is an ingredient for nuclear fusion. And this is precisely what we should be doing, getting into space and using what space can give us to develop better energy sources and make it cheaper to get into space in the first place. But what have the Western governments been doing? Well, they have been promoting windmills and windmill farms. Now, windmills are not going to get us into space and help us travel through the solar system. And this is all about two contrasting mindsets. The first mindset imagines that humans will always remain on this earth. And so it concludes that we have a problem with overpopulation and global warming and running out of natural resources. And the response is to throttle back on our industrial development and instead move into things like windmills and riding bicycles and the whole green movement. Now, windmills and bicycles are not very good basis for an advanced industrial economy, let alone for travelling to other planets and other star systems. So the result is that humans will end up remaining on this earth. The second mindset starts with the assumption that humans' destiny lies in space, and therefore there are abundant resources available to us, and we need a population explosion in order to spread throughout the universe. And all those ideas that are based on the assumption that there is only one Earth and we must preserve it come to seem irrelevant. global warming is beside the point when humans are living in space. And so that attitude suggests we should ramp up our technology and industry, develop more powerful energy sources, and make getting into space cheaper. And the result is then that our destiny is in space. And what we need to do is move from one mindset to the other. Now, Arthur Marwick, in War and Social Change in the 20th Century, says that one of the effects of war is, as he puts it, to test the human reluctance to exploit the full potential of science and technology. And I think this is what he's talking about. A future war will have this effect of breaking us away from this mindset that's taken place in Western governments of failing to exploit the potential of space and assume we must stay here on this earth, to the new mindset that's struggling to be born through these private entrepreneurs that humans must get out into space and can do so.